people are getting way ahead of themselves talking about this being a strategic defeat for the United States or the US accepting all these, onerous terms. Like that's a possibility. And certainly I would argue that this has been a strategic defeat for the United States no matter what happens at this point. This hasn't been negotiated yet. Like Trump said, and Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, in his statement responding to Trump's initial statement, that the U.S. has agreed that this 10-point list that the Iranians put out, along with the 15-point list that the U.S. Was floating, which is just as maximalist on the U.S. part, like in terms of its demands, the demands that it's putting on Iran, it contains just as many non-starters for the Iranians as this seemingly does for the U.S. And I think that the extent of this is he's decided, or announced that these two things are enough to start talking. But what the deal is going to look like, again, if they even get to a deal at the end of 2 weeks, is still very much up in the air. And I would say the likeliest outcome is that they're not going to get to a deal at the end of 2 weeks, because neither side, the Iranians think they've won this exchange, and you may agree with that. The U.S. is desperately trying to claim that it won this exchange. Trump called it a total and complete victory. Pete Hegseth again crawled out of his gin bottle to say the same thing on Wednesday morning. That's delusional, but they want to act like that because they need to convince whatever subset of the U.S. population is still supporting them that they've won this thing. Somebody's going to have to concede something to get to a deal. But these two documents that Trump has put forward are not compatible with each other, and they are not anything that you could just turn into a peace arrangement. Now, does that mean, if there's no deal in 2 weeks, does that mean we're back to war and Trump's destroying Iranian civilization again? Maybe not. Maybe it just means everybody kind of establishes some tenuous detente. They extend the ceasefire for another 2 weeks or whatever, and they just keep doing that indefinitely. I don't think it necessarily augurs a return to full on war. But do I think they're going to be able to hash out their various grievances in 2 weeks when they've tried two longer term negotiating processes over the last 2 years and they've both ended in war? No, I don't think that it's realistic to think that they're going to actually come to a deal in 2 weeks.